Hey, it's Bitty Penny, and today I am sharing with you guys a fun project using my gorgeous kit from DREAMZ Etc. And when I unboxed this in a live video, I really loved this bright pink file folder. And so I am going to make a project using this file folder that's a little different. And I had loved that paper, that transparent paper, or it's like a vellum paper over it as well. So I just measured it up, and I'm going to cut this down to about 5 3/4, which is the halfway point for this folder. And I'm going to leave the height as it is for now, but it's just over 5 3/4. Every file folder might vary slightly, but basically I'm just cutting it in half. Readjusting my camera there for you real quick. Now, these do have the crease lines, so that they can expand. And I'm going to make one of these they're both going to be pockets. One's going to have a Velcro closing flap, and the other one is just going to be open. Okay, so when you crease those flaps, that's going to basically give me a gusset at the bottom so that I can store more things inside of it. You can fold it square like this, or you can fold it more rounded. I ended up liking the more rounded version because I felt like it probably wouldn't stay square forever, and then that would really bug me. So I went with using all of the score lines and just kind of making it more rounded, but definitely gusseted. Now here, you could sew these sides together, you could glue these sides together. There's really no wrong way, but what I did was I measured this side, and I am going to make just a real simple accordion style gusset to go in it. I think this would have been more effective if I had gotten 3 lines, at least 3 folds, but I was using my scraps from my 5x7 card making, and I was scoring at 1/2 inch. So this is 1.5 inches, and for my file folder, I cut it down to 7 inches. So these are 7 by 1.5. That may not work for whatever you have that you're using, but it definitely worked for me. Obviously, you can use this idea with regular manila file folders, green file, any color of file folder that you might have. I think even if it's used and very well loved file folder, it would look great, because then you could go with like a grungy look, or you could distress it and make it look more antiqued. And here is where I'm scoring these at 1/2 inch. Or sorry, I think I scored these at 1/4 inch. Yes. And I only got 2 scored lines in mine. And this totally works, but I think I would have preferred a 3rd score line, because then the accordion would have been a little more flexible. So that's something to think about if you did like a 2x7 inch strip and scored at 1/4 inch. I believe you'll get just more expansion. In fact, you could make these 7 by 3 inches and score at 1/4 inch and get a lot of expansion. It's just whatever you're planning to put inside. If you're planning on putting a thicker like junk journal inside of them, then think about that when you're making your gussets. I was just really, these are kind of my prototypes in building something here. I do have plans for them, and I thought these would work. So now I'm going to take and glue these inside the edge. You want to glue it above the bottom fold line. Okay, so you want it to be above all of your fold lines, the gussets down there at the bottom. And then I'm just putting it to the very edge here. And And I just made sure mine was short enough that it wouldn't extend past the top of the fold as well. So that's how I landed at the 7 inches. You can make them shorter, you can make it longer, just whatever you need. Thanks, you guys, for being so patient as I figure out the balance of my life. I have been in a really weird headspace too this last few days, and just about, like all of my crafty responsibilities and all the things that I need to do or I feel like I need to do. And I think I'm getting it figured out. Last year, my year was all about balance. And I think what I realized is I had overextended myself. And really, I haven't overextended myself in what I can do. It's just my work schedule makes what I can do in my craft room feel overextended. And so I think I'm going to have to dial some things back, but that's okay. It's better than letting others down, which I cannot stand to do. Like, when I commit, I'm committed, and I hate the feeling of letting others down. So I'm going to make some changes here, and I'll talk about that in another video. But yeah, I'm going to make some changes. All right. So here is where I'm showing you guys. I'm going to cut this front flap down, but I'm going to keep the back flap as long as it was originally, and that way I can fold it over. Now, obviously, I didn't measure how long this flap would be here, but you want it to be long enough that you can put Velcro or some kind of closure there. And now I'm just adding a gusset here at the top. These are just 1/8 of an inch score lines, but I want the top to be gusseted as well as the bottom so that I can put more in here. Now, this one's made so that I could put 5x7 cards in there. So I was thinking this one would be really pretty with just a few cards put inside. So I think what I'm going to do is come back and use this kit once again and make some cards that can fit inside of this pocket. And with the other ones, I'm thinking about doing some like a real small notebook to go into the other pocket that I'm making. So I will come back and make those in another video. I have Oh So Inspired coming up this week, which I'm really excited about. And I also was live with Call Me Crafty Al and Amalia from Cool Cakes and Crafts with Amalia. This past weekend on Saturday, I was live with them on Call Me Crafty Al's channel, and we made a sheet load live. It was awesome, you guys. I was able to complete my sheet load in the hour that we had to craft. I had pre-cut and pre-folded my card bases and pre-cut my papers, but I was able to do all of the assembling of my sheet load live with those lovely ladies, and it is worth a watch if you're a sheet load fan. If you're into card making, I think, period, it is definitely worth a watch. Everyone did something different. I really loved Call Me Crafty Al's color palette that she had going on. It was very vintage and cool looking to me. And then Amalia made some really fun cards as well. All right, so here I am just gluing my gussets back down, and I was kind of having a tricky time. So what I ended up doing to get them to stay glued the way I wanted them was I added a little bit more glue here, and then I added paper clips just to keep everything where I wanted it while the glue dried. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm just adding these paper clips temporarily, holding those gussets in place and making sure that the edges are really well adhered. Here is that gorgeous vellum paper that I just love this paper so much. And I loved it over this pink folder. So I'm going to take this and trim this down, and I'm going to cover the entire front portion of this folder with this piece of paper. And I brought out my glue stick and used it to do this job. Glue stick works great on vellum. I know in the card making community, you're typically trying to hide the glue when you're dealing with vellum, because vellum can buckle and your glue can show and things like that. I like a glue stick. I think the Scotch glue sticks work great, and especially this Scotch Create. And yeah, it holds the vellum very well. The vellum doesn't buckle or do anything strange. It works great. You can't see the glue, so definitely try a glue stick if you're struggling with vellum sometimes. It may not always work. It may depend on your vellum. You might have to let it dry before you can tell like the total result, but give it a shot. Lace comes in these kits. Beautiful, beautiful lace comes in these kits. So I'm going to use some of that here at the top. So this pocket is the pocket that I'm planning on putting a notebook inside of it. So it doesn't have a closure. And I'm able to just decorate this portion that hangs over the edge. And I just love it, you guys. So pretty. I used some Fabri-Tac to stick that down, and then I just had this piece of this like flower chain that I also love, and it was 6 flowers long and I decided to split that in half and put a little on each side. This was a really fun project to work on if you have a lot of lace and trim, or you struggle to use lace and trim, and maybe you don't junk journal but you want to use it in a fun way. I think this project is for everyone, whether you junk journal or not. If you're a card maker, you know, you can make these pockets and put anything you wanted in them. You could, you know, you could adjust the measurements. You don't have to cut your folder in half, for one. So, you know, you could have kept the folder full size and you could put paper in it and ephemera and make some Happy Mail. I just think it has a lot of fun uses. And it's a fun way to use the elements that come in this kit. So these kits always have lots of paper. They have embellishments and lace and trim and stamps. There's just a whole variety of things. And so I thought this project was good because it kind of incorporates so many of those elements from the box. All right, so now I get to decorate the front, and I just had this pink envelope that came in the kit sitting over to the side, and I thought that would be such an adorable way to decorate the front of this pocket and add yet another pocket to it. So I'm gonna take this envelope, and I was trying to think if I wanted to cover the glue on that top edge of the envelope. What you could do is cut down a sheet of paper that is the same width of the envelope, and that's a little bit taller, and cut around the edges. That would be a way to line the envelope. But I decided I would just use this piece of ephemera that also came in the kit, and I'm going to use my stamp that says journal. I always keep this stamp on a block and on my desk ready to go because I like to make so many journals. And so I am just going to use that as a way to line my pocket and decorate. And that way, you know, it kind of covers up some of that glue. And it's just kind of fun. It's just kind of a fun thing. But definitely you could line the envelope if that's what, you know, is appealing to you. I loved this envelope, and I know it would have been beautiful, like with a little note in it and folded up and put inside of a journal, but it just ended up being the front pocket of this folder. I saw Gail Augustinelli a while back, just in the last month or so. She shared, I think it was Girl on the Ridge, who had made some really cool file folder pockets, and she is always digging through her stash this last year or so, and she's trying to use things up, much like me, and she had pulled those out, and I was really inspired by those. I want to make some like the ones that she showed from Girl on a Ridge, and they were stitched on the sides, and they were a little more vintage looking maybe than these. They were a little bit more simple than these are. But I wanted to get the most out of this kit, and I was really, I was inspired by the ones that Gail had shown, but I wanted to kind of, make it my own as well. Now I'm wrapping some twine around, and I used that label from the kit. You can see I did not decorate the back of this, but most certainly you could. There was so much paper in this kit that you could definitely just line the back of this pocket if you wanted to. But I left it pink and basic, and that's okay. I did deconstruct one of the paper clips that came in the kit to make that top part, and then use the leftover foam that was on it to attach that. Now, with this little pocket, I plan on tucking ephemera in here, and this is, like I said, this would just be a great little piece of Happy Mail to send a friend. You could send a real basic notebook and some ephemera and maybe some paper, and they would have a fun little place to journal and write things. I think these would also be beautiful in a craft fair. This would be a great craft fair project. There will be a part 2 where I make the notebook and I make the cards to go inside of this one. And obviously you could give the 2 of these together. I was playing with using that obviously to cover the top, but I changed my mind and I went to some of the 12 by 12 paper that came in this kit and found a piece of that to cover it instead. And on this one, I am going to cover the front and the back of the folder. I love all of this paper. It was hard narrowing it down, but these flowers, they sold me. But what I decided to do was use the bottom edge, and then so I thought that was really pretty. So I'm going to measure that front flap and cut this paper down to fit on it, double checking my measurements. And it felt like that's got to be too short. And it's like, oh no, actually that's right. Okay. So then I'll go back and finish cutting that. I hope you guys had a wonderful weekend. We had a good time. We went to the Museum of Ice Cream here in Austin with my daughter and her BFF, and hung out at Grandma's house a little bit, and I did the live, and then I nursed a migraine right after the live, and then yesterday it was church, and it was grocery shopping and meal prepping, getting ready because my kids have been on spring break this past week. And so it's just getting ready for everyone to go back to school. And then I worked yesterday. So Saturday, I guess, was my day of rest. and yesterday was my day of hustle. So I used one of the excess pieces and put that up on the top flap, but because of the lace that I end up using, this step is kind of not necessarily, it's not going to be very noticeable that I added this piece here, and that's okay. If anything, it just makes this flap more sturdy, which is always a good thing. So that is the front. And then I'm going to distress the top and bottom with ink, and I am going to cover the back. Again, the front and the back measurements are different, so I did need to re-measure. This is that same sheet of paper that I had used for the front, and I only needed to trim down the tiniest bit off of the side and then some off of the top. I ended up using that other piece already, so I've used this whole sheet of paper already. I used that other scrap on a totally different project. I've been thinking about other ways to use scraps for junk journalers. I've got lots of ideas. I need to get a video out for you guys on that. And I've been using my scraps, so, you know, I got to get more content out for you guys with scraps. So here I am grabbing a clean brush, a new brush, and I'm grabbing my dye ink. I really prefer to use a non-water reactive ink when I'm making a project like this versus my Distress Oxide or Distress ink. Just because I don't want the ink shifting or changing after I've applied it, since this is going to be like a craft fair project or a project that I give away. I just wanted to knock back that pink a little bit and distress it so that it's softer, and the inside is already a softer color. But I thought that went a little better with the papers that I had chose. Now I'm going to go back through the lace and trim that came in this kit. I still have the majority of this kit left over. I hardly used much of it at all, making these pockets, but I absolutely love them. This piece is fun. It's ruffled and it has dimension, and I thought it would go well at the top, but I end up putting it down here at the bottom. So I didn't edit this down, you guys. I just sped it up a little bit so we wouldn't be here all day, but I left everything in so you could see kind of my thought process, how I move things around or audition things. But since this bottom is gusseted, I thought that this ruffled lace would go better down at the bottom rather than the top. So I'm going to put that down there. And I could fold it over if I wanted to cover the whole back edge. I most certainly could fold it over, but I just left it loose. And then there's this fabulous, I absolutely love this trim that came in the kit. It has these sequins on it that are like a gold holographic. They are so cool. And it, always when I get something like this, it's like, oh, I want to save it forever, but it's like, no, I'm going to use it. It came in the kit. I'm making something with the kit. I'm going to use it. And I have that little piece left over. So there, I still have some. And my Fabri-Tac was the glue of choice in this video for all of my ribbons and trim. I do love how it has such a permanent hold and it dries really quickly. That is the glory of Fabri-Tac. or Fabrifix, either one. I found that they're pretty universal. I think Fabri-Tac is my favorite, but this is Fabric-Fix and it works really well. I've got my glue dots, or my glue Velcro pieces from the Dollar Tree. My friend Megan sent me these. And speaking of Megan, I sent you a card and it came back to me. I don't know if you moved or had the wrong address, but thanks again for sending me these Velcro pieces. I absolutely love them. And for the longest time, the Dollar Trees near me didn't have them. And she sent me some. It was so sweet. And then here, I'm just kind of playing around. I wanted to layer a little bit of ephemera here. And I'm just looking around, seeing what else is over here in this huge pile from this kit. And I liked this bloom where you're planted, since we've got these beautiful blooming flowers. So I glue that down there. And that's it. That's all I felt like this little folder needed, besides things put inside of it. Except for I did add a dangle. So what I did was, at first I was just going to poke a hole with my pokey tool. It was just too close to the edge, and I was going to have to go through that ribbon. I decided to use my crocodile instead and put an eyelet in it. That just always makes things seem, for me, more secure. And I would be sad for someone if they were using this and they lost their dangle and it ripped a hole or something like that. So I used my eyelet. And then in this kit, there were so many cute beads and charms and things. So I used, all of this is from the kit, and I used this to make an adorable little charm off on the side. And I just love that little detail that it adds. You could hang a few of those from this, and that would be really precious too, like 3 of them. Would be really cute as well. But yeah, these are all the little charms that came in this kit. Well, beads and things. So here are the final pockets, and I really love them. I cannot wait to fill them up and send them out. I have them in mind for someone. And so I need to send out Happy Mail desperately. And so I'm going to get the other items made hopefully this week and have a second video out for you guys. Inspiring ways to fill these up. In the meantime, I'd love it if you leave a comment. Let me know what you would put inside of these pockets. Maybe I can keep that in mind when I make the second video. Thanks so much for watching, you guys. I'll see you next time. Bye.